Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name is Terrence, you're watching Pariah vs. Gear, and today I'm going to give you 5 tips for customizing and ordering a custom guitar. Alright, tip number 1. Use the Halo Guitar Customizer for practice and research and absolutely nothing else. Alright. So, Halo Guitars has one of the most robust online guitar customizers that's out there. It lets you get a feel for a bunch of the visual and aesthetic options that you'll see when you go to spec out a custom guitar elsewhere. It's also a good chance to at least see what this company would charge you for certain options and compare it with what other companies might charge. This is a great place to start. However, Halo does not currently have a great reputation. I've heard some good things about Halo recently, but not enough to feel good about trying them out myself. But then again, that is kind of what I'm here for, so maybe I should be the guinea pig for this one day. Back in the day, when I was first deciding on a custom guitar for myself, I started with Halo's customizer, but I made the mistake of actually saying, alright, I'm getting a Halo, and I ordered it. After talking with some people in some forums, I realized that probably wasn't the best choice that I could make. And I did ask them for a refund, which I got, but they also took a fee out for that, which is whatever. But yeah, I cannot currently recommend Halo guitars. Also, try Balaguer guitars as well. They have a online custom builder that is pretty much the exact same thing as Halo's, and it's just another option for you to try. I definitely recommend that you try and get familiar with the options on both of those sites before you actually go into speccing out and purchasing a custom guitar. Oh, and also Balaguer actually does have a pretty great reputation for it. Well, actually a really good reputation. And yeah, but we'll get there and talk about that. All right, number 2, know your wants and needs. So the first question I think you should ask yourself when you start this process is A, do I actually want a custom or semi-custom guitar in the first place? They're not for everybody. So one of the reasons that I went the custom route in the first place is because I'm left-handed. There are companies like Strandberg, Abasi, and more who often have those very exotically spec guitars in stock pretty often. You should also check out stores that stock runs of custom guitars where they chose the specs. So for this, I can personally recommend the Axe Palace, which is owned by Nicholas Yofi. I do not know how to say his last name, but he's a pretty cool dude. And Wicked Guitars out of Australia, which is owned by Troy Darlington. I've purchased from him in the past before. I bought my best guitar from him, actually. If there are only a few features that you know that you want and you don't really want to wait 12 to 18 months, it's probably best to just wait for in-stock or used guitars with those features to pop up. As a lefty, this is much, much less likely to happen, and the used market is not nearly as robust for us. Thus, for me, I said I was going to lean into being left-handed and order the exact things that I wanted to get built. However, at the time, I didn't watch a video like this one and didn't do enough research, so I didn't know exactly what I wanted at the time. But it turned out alright for me. Like I said, I was at least saved from the possibility of being extremely disappointed in a Halo. Alright, number 3, reputation. So reputation isn't everything, but it's a lot of the thing. So a lot of these custom and semi-custom guitar shops out here like Black Hat, Skirvison, Mayonnaise, Balaguer, and Aristides, they are much, much smaller operations than the big guitar brands. Even something like Kiesel is not as big as, say, a Schecter or a Jackson or something. Because of this, most of them live and die by their reputations. If you're new to the nerdy custom guitar stuff, Google absolutely everything. So scour forums and Facebook groups, all that sort of stuff. Just get information wherever you can. Unfortunately, when you're doing this, yes, you do want to look out for horror stories. Keep in mind when these horror stories occurred, and see if you can find more than one instance of it happening. Since most of these companies are small, they know at this point that each guitar needs to represent their best work in terms of quality. Most of these companies do get better over time. Skirvison is a big example of this in my mind. Back in the day, you saw a whole bunch of complaints about Skirvison, but now they're considered among the best. And like I said, I consider my Skirvison to be my best guitar currently. But yeah, most of them get better over time, and you need to make sure that you can feel confident in paying over $1,000 up front, usually, and not be stressing about it for the next year or so that it takes them to build your guitar. That's not good for you, and it's not good for the builder that you'll be tempted to message every week for updates. That usually doesn't go too well. Someone's going to end up upset. Number 4, I want to talk about the concept of diminishing returns. So I'm a huge believer in this concept. People will have differing opinions on this, and indeed there are some people with more experience than myself with this in some aspects. But I've ordered 6 custom guitars so far. I'm waiting for the 6th one to be delivered right now, so I do have more experience than most. But there are people still who have more experience than I do, namely those people that own some of these stores. But again, they own stores, so they want to sell you stuff, so you gotta keep that in mind too. But again, this is largely a limitation of myself being left-handed. So my personal stance on diminishing returns is that value can very quickly start to drop as price increases. So what is value? It's what you're getting for your money. So how much money you're spending versus what you're getting for it. It's the relationship between those two things. So like I said, as the amount of money that you spend increases, your value starts to peter off. To sum this up, I like to think about this as there's only so much perfection that will really matter to a given person. So this will be different for everybody, and it's value-wise, it's different for each brand. So considering a brand's reputation is very important in having an idea on the value of their custom guitars. So for me personally, what I've found is that once the price that I'm paying has hit $3,000 USD or more, I feel like I should be getting a guitar that is so close to perfect that paying anything above that wouldn't necessarily be getting me much more for the money. I sum it up like this. It's only so great that a guitar can be before it's not even a guitar anymore. At a certain point, you start paying for attention to detail that you're unable to physically notice yourself, such as like nearly microscopically more level fret edges. So if the fret edge is smooth to the touch, how much more perfect can it really be? Sure, plenty. Like again, microscopically, it can definitely be better. But does that really matter to you? If I can slide my hand up and down the fretboard and not feel a single fret edge, I look at it and I can't see that anything's not level. But maybe if I were to put a microscope over it or something, I could tell that one guitar is more perfect than the other. Does that really matter to me? Personally, no. Someone may want to pay another $500 for that to be the case. That is definitely not the case for me. Like I said, when I pay that $3,000 or more, or in that ballpark, yeah, I want perfection, but to a certain extent, I'm not going to pay more to get it to be more perfect, you know? Yeah, so $3,000 for me is the number where I feel that I can for sure get absolutely everything that I want in a custom instrument, at a level of quality and detail that feels essentially perfect to me. The trick is finding that at a lower price point, with the lowest price point possible, and that's where you start talking about value. But always remember, if it seems too good to be true, it almost certainly is. And that's when you start talking about those knockoff guitars that, whether they have the brand name on them or not, like you see like a $300 mayonnaise or Skirvison somewhere, it's not real. Don't do that. You're setting yourself up for a terrible, terrible disappointment. And finally, the aftermath of choosing and buying a custom guitar build. So after you finalize your decision and purchase a guitar comes the hard part, the waiting. If a builder, company, or website tells you that they'll build your guitar in 8 months, be prepared for 10. If they say 10, be prepared for 12 to 13 months. And really always be prepared for a little more than that. I've had like maybe one guitar be delivered within 2 months of when it was originally quoted for me, and that's just how these things go. Any number of things can happen that can impact the timeline for the completion of guitars. The major global event that happened in 2020 is an extreme example, but due to the many different companies and suppliers who are involved in the completion of a guitar, there are a lot of opportunities for delays to occur. In some cases, delays from one supplier can temporarily halt progress on the build as a whole. As a customer, it's important to be prepared for this. However, the fact that different people will have varying level of different people will have varying levels of patience for these things, and it's important to know and understand your own patience for these things. If you feel like patience may be an issue for you, you should likely prioritize choosing a company that is known for being highly responsive. This can mean a few different things. For one, I think about how often they will send updates and progress pictures to you directly, or post them in groups or whatnot. The reality is that months will sometimes go by where there is no visible progress being made on your guitar. And that's just you having to be aware of that fact. And just being patient through those periods. The other half of communication with dealers and builders is excuse me. So the other half of this coin is more directly related to customer service and involves just how responsive that the company is to questions and emails and messages during and before and during the build process. So if you're a person who values communication with the builder very highly, I recommend that you gently kind of test the waters prior to committing to a build. Ask questions, send examples of what you think you might want, and see how they respond to you. So many of these builders are actually happy to make some recommendations to you, and they're generally pretty honest about how their communications with you will be before you commit to a build with them. My final point on this tip is to just put the guitar out of your mind. As best as you can, you want to choose a company that you have confidence in. This helps with this immensely. In the best case scenario, you will just totally put the guitar in the back of your mind, and then one day you'll just be pleasantly surprised when you get guitar updates. And then next thing you know, you'll have an awesome surprise when you wake up and see that your guitar is ready to ship to you. Alright, so now we're going to take a look at a couple of the guitar builder customizer websites that we talked about earlier, and just I'll point out a few things to you there, and we'll talk about the actual specs of a guitar that you should keep your mind on. Alright, so here we go. Like I said, we're here on the Halo Custom Guitars Customization Tool. We also have the Balaguer one over here, which we'll come back to in a minute. So for the Halo one, we're going to go through step by step, and I'm going to explain what some of these specs mean, which ones I care about, and kind of go in depth in terms of building a guitar. Whereas on the Balaguer one, I'm going to quickly design a guitar, and I'll indicate where things are notably different. And then at the end, we'll show the price comparison between the two and all that. But alright, so here's the first screen you're met with when you go to the Halo Guitars site. I'm a headless guy, so we're going to go with that. Bam. Alright. Fairly cool already. So now you come down here, and these are the different options that are available to you. So dexterity, I'm left-handed. Bam, left. Cool. Alright, let's see. Do they charge you for left-handed or not? No, they do not. That's great. That's something I look for as a left-handed person. Construction method. So this pretty much indicates how the neck is attached to the body. Bolt-on literally means that the neck is bolted to the body. This is how most of my guitars are. There are some people who prefer bolt-on set neck or neck through. Some folks say that bolt-on necks have a little bit more snappy attack. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Ultimately, that tends to be the cheapest option, and I've had absolutely no issues with it. Set neck typically means that the neck is glued inside a space inside the body, which is totally fine. And neck through, the neck, it extends through the body like this right here, and then the body, it has body wings attached to it here on the top and the bottom. Let's see if we can show it from the back. We can, yeah, see, so the neck runs through here and then it has body wings attached to it. This tends to be the most expensive option. Some people prefer it. I haven't done it yet, maybe one day, but I haven't personally felt the need to. Alright, switch back. So we're going to stick to bolt-on for now. Number of strings, fairly obvious. See, Halo has a bunch of options up to 10 strings, which is excessive to say the least, but it's there. We're going to go with a 7 string, keep it fairly light around here. Multi-scale, yes, please. So multi-scale fan frets indicates that you have a multi-scale guitar, meaning that the scale length on the bass side and the treble side are not the same. This can help with tuning stability and comfort for some people. I really enjoy how it feels. So as you can see, on the bass side, the scale length is longer, whereas it's shorter on the treble side. So typically the way people look at this is the longer the scale length is, the more tuning stability you'll probably have. Whereas the shorter that it is, the easier you'll have bends. You'll have some more playability. So multi-scale can be a pretty cool compromise between the two in terms of having the tuning stability of the longer scale length and the comfort of shorter scale length for the thinner guitar, for the thinner strings where you tend to do lead work and stuff. Scale length. So like I said, Halo is nice in that it lets you actually customize what the shorter length side will be and what the longer length will be. My recommendation here is to not do something super extreme like picking the shortest scale length and the longest scale length, because that is going to make the fans more extreme, which at that point, yeah, things can get extremely uncomfortable to play. I tend to like to stick between an inch to an inch to an inch and a half in terms of the difference between the shortest side and the longest side. I've never been totally happy with 25.5 to a 27 inch, which I'm a type of guy that plays pretty much exclusively half step down. So if you're tuning lower, you probably want to have a longer scale length. So I would do something like, maybe if I was tuning like low, I'd probably want something like 27 inch to a 28 inch or 28 inch to a 30 inch or something. But for me, like I said, I play half step down. 25.5 to 27 inch on a 7 string is perfect. It works perfectly fine on an 8 string for those tunings as well. Although maybe I consider going up to 28 inches for 8 string, but it's not necessary. Alright, next, body, shape. So this is literally like the model of the guitar. You change this, you change which guitar, the name of the guitar you're ordering. Like I said, I'm cool with this shape here. This works great for me. Contour. So this is talking about the cut of the guitar, the top of the guitar. It can be kind of they try to use a graphic here to explain what it looks like, but I can show you some of my guitars to kind of display this a little bit better. So flat, the top of the guitar is flat. Not quite. Do I have a flat guitar? Not really, I don't. Well, I guess you could consider my Strandberg as having a flat carve. It's just flat. Like there's no noticeable like curvature of the top here. But my preference, that I actually haven't gotten on a custom guitar yet, because it tends to be the most expensive, is a carved top. Where hopefully you can see it. Basically, it's this part here that I'm encircling right now. It's slightly elevated. It's kind of hard to see, but pretty much where all the hardware and everything is elevated compared to the outsides of the body. And that's just something I really like the look and feel of. But that said, it's totally not necessary. I think that is mostly an aesthetic choice, and you can kind of go with whatever is. This is something where I would be totally happy just choosing a flat one if I'm trying to save some money. But if I'm trying to go all out, personally, I prefer a carved top. So let's do that for now. We're going to go all out on both of these builds in terms of something that I actually would want here. Something that I would order today. Wood. Alright, top. This is going to be important. So this is going to be like pretty much the main aesthetic choice that I consider you're making in terms of woods. Excuse me. You can choose to not have a top, in which case your core wood is going to be what is seen on the front of the guitar. So you'll see now when we choose a different core wood, you'll see it change here. And this is literally the majority of the wood that the body of the guitar is made out of. This is where you can start to get into rabbit holes of people talking about, oh, ash sounds very bright and mahogany is dark, black limba is somewhere in the middle. That much I do agree with, but it's not to me, I don't think it's a huge deal in terms of sound. When I'm going to choose a body wood, I'm going to go for aesthetics for the most part. Here you see that black limba is the only one that Halo charges an upcharge for. I would probably choose ash. But again, like I said, alright, and backwood, don't care. It's like having a aesthetic wood choice on the back of the guitar. I don't care. I believe that as none. So now all you can see of this guitar is the core wood. You can have no top wood and no back wood. It's just the core wood. This whole guitar is made out of whatever I chose for that, which in this case is ash. But I usually like a guitar with a nice top. This is where you start to get those interesting looking patterns and stuff. Alright, a veneer versus a cap. I'm always going to choose the veneer. Like I said, for me this is for aesthetics. For some of those people that believe that these woods play a significant part in their tone, that's not me. They may choose to go for a cap, which is a thicker piece of wood, which is still basically a top, but it's just thicker. Whereas a veneer is almost exclusively, this is meant to be aesthetic, which for me is what I personally believe in. Some of these things you can have colored, some of them you can't. It really depends on the builder. Oh, wrong one. But for me, I like colors on my guitar. So let's go with, and you gotta look at the prices here again too. I'm a great fan. Alright, so a mistake that I made when I made my first guitar. Flamed sounds cooler than quilted. But me, I greatly preferred the look of quilt than flame. Flame is cool. This is a flame maple look. Whereas this is a quilt maple look, where it's like waves. I prefer the look of quilted maple. Quilted guitars in general. This is a quilted maple top. See, it's kind of wavy. This is a flamed maple top. It just kind of has the lines going across. Still really cool, but I'm a fan of quilt, more so. Right. Actually, because the guitar I already have on order is quilt, I'd probably go with a poplar burl. Poplar or maple burl. I don't like their poplar burl too much. The maple burl looks pretty good. Now remember, as you're selecting this, your actual guitar is going to look different than that, but this is giving you an idea of what it looks like. But yeah, so let's go with, like I said, the maple burl. Color. Alright, top color. So, natural, it can stay as it is. Transparent is usually what you want to go for. So when you choose a nice looking top, like we did here, you have to choose a transparent color, or else it doesn't matter. So when I pick a solid color, let's say solid blue, top is no longer visible. Metallic, let's say a metallic light green, top is no longer visible. But when we choose transparent, and let's say we're gonna go with transparent turquoise, I can still see my top. So when you see like trans white or trans blue or whatever, trans indicates that you'll be able to see the wood underneath the top. And that's usually what people want if you chose a nice top. Back and sides color, fairly obvious. Let's switch to view. I'm kind of cool with it as it is, but let's choose a transparent black. So yeah, now we can still see the ash here as well. Just the lines of the wood. Whereas if we choose a solid color, the lines of the wood goes away. I like to see the lines of the wood in my guitars typically. And since they're not charging for it, I would go for like a trans black or a trans natural. Just natural. That's also cool. But I'm gonna go trans black. Alright, switch the view back to the front. Burst. So here you can choose an actual burst for the guitar, and I really like the way that this looks. A purple burst. I think that looks great. That was an extra $30 though. Alright, binding. What is binding? None of my custom guitars so far have binding on them. But what that is referring to kind of difficult to see, but there's a black binding around my guitar where this is binding the top to the core wood, and you can actually see it. Whereas without this, it'll just, the top will just be there, and you won't see a line demarcating it. other than the natural line that's created. For instance, like this guitar has a poplar burl top, but the body is black limbo, but it doesn't have a binding on it. So like there's no one line demarcating that. Again, that's mainly an aesthetic choice. And oftentimes you're going to pay for it. So let's see how much it costs here. Top binding is going to be about $30. Let's do it. Why not? Where is the... Here you can change the background view so you can see the binding a little bit better. Yeah, I think it looks really cool. Purfling, so that's like the this. See how there's three little is it three? Yeah, there's like three gold lines going around the top of this body. It's like an outline of the guitar basically. And personally I feel no need to have that. You can do a custom graphic here. Now let's start talking about the neck wood. Alright, so someone who I trust has told me that an indicator of a guitar that's going to sound good to him is something like a one-piece neck. So like as few pieces of wood in the neck as possible. And I can believe that does have an effect on the resonance of a guitar. That said, I've always thought that these like 7-piece necks and everything look cool. So you switch the view around again. And you see it looks cool, which is great. But for me, my primary thing about the back of a neck, so the neck wood itself, is I want dark wood there. I don't really enjoy the feel of like a light maple neck. It's not really for me. Something like a Wenge or even mahogany, I just really like the feel of those necks. Particularly when it's an open pore finish, so I can feel the little pores and grains of the wood as I play. So in this case, I'm actually going to pick a mahogany neck because I'm totally cool with that. I like mahogany necks a lot. Darker woods just tend to be more pleasing to me in terms of how they feel and how they look. Turn it back around. Fretboard wood. Again, I like dark fretboard woods, but I haven't had a pale moon ebony board yet. So my issue with maple tends to, and probably pale moon ebony, I'm not totally sure, is that you can't use things like lemon oil to clean it on maple. It can damage the fretboard if you use it. I think pale moon ebony may be the same way, but I could kind of move past it. It's something I'm okay with. I want to try it because I've never done it before. I think it looks really, really great. All right, fretboard radius. I wouldn't think about this too much, honestly. It hasn't been a big deal for me at least. So I'll link you somewhere that'll talk about fretboard radius, but personally I don't think it's a huge deal. Neck back color, switch view. I would probably leave this natural, but at worst I would do like a transparent, like I said, I want an open pore finish if at all possible. I avoid gloss necks whenever possible. Gloss necks tend to get like kind of sticky and they're not the easiest thing to play sometimes. I want at least a satin finish, but an open pore satin finish is even better for me. This looks fine. I would go for it. I've heard people talk about painted necks, eventually the paint wearing away, so that's something I would be potentially concerned about and would maybe not select a colored neck. This is the type of thing I would definitely ask whoever I'm talking to from the company about. Ask them how they feel, how confident they are that their the paint on the back of their necks wouldn't wear away with time. And that's just a matter of you communicating with the company. But yeah, we'll go with this for now. Switch view. Frets. 24 frets, don't need any of that craziness. All right, medium jumbo or extra jumbo fret. So this basically talks about how high up the fret sits and how big it is. With an extra jumbo fret, they call it, it can provide a scalloped neck feel. I don't feel a need for that. This is another one that I don't feel it matters a huge deal. I pretty much stick with jumbo, and I haven't had any type of issues. Inlay. So the inlays on your fretboard, halo chargers for them, I don't need them personally. I would say none. Now what I do need is side markers, which are going to come. Every guitar is going to come with side markers standard generally. But for me, I always want to choose lumen lay side dots because in terms of playing live, if you ever get the opportunity to play live, you're on a dark stage, you're going to want lumen lays. It matters a heck of a lot. That is I can't compromise on having lumen lay side dots. I need those. You can have a neck binding, which is just like the body binding we talked about earlier. Don't need it. Purfling, same thing. Don't need it. The nut. So there are different schools of thought in terms of nut material and everything, but oftentimes you can just choose based off of the aesthetics that you're going for. Here, let's go for a black one. Standard is totally fine. Headstock doesn't apply here. A lot of the things on the headstock just apply the same way as they do on the body and the neck, though. Components, hardware color. I'm a fan of gold hardware. I think it can be classy if done right. Bridge, multi-scale single saddle bridge, cool. Tuners. So I think this might be something of an issue on their site. For a headless guitar, you're going to have a locking tuning system, so I'm not sure why this is here. But I choose non-locking in the first place and ask about that, because for this bridge, this part of the guitar has to be locking. There's no way to utilize this bridge without it having a locking setup. So I would ask them about that, but for now I would choose unlocking to keep the price a little bit lower, but I would ask them about that prior to finalizing my selections here. Pick guard, don't need it. Pickups, that's important. So I have a great preference for bare knuckle pickups. Alright, now because we chose a multi-scale scale length, we want angled pickups if possible. They do offer them here. So here you can see the pickups are slightly angled, not quite as much as I would like them to be, but basically the closer that the pickup is to the bass, to the bridge I should say, the more pick attack you're going to get out of this. You don't necessarily want it to be too close, but if for instance this pickup was not angled and it was just going straight across like this, the pickup would be further away from the bridge, and thus you can lose some pick attack, which is it's generally cool for the treble side, but like for those lower notes you want it to be somewhat close to the bridge so that you can maintain your pick attack. That said, when you do this, you kind of, to an extent, limit yourself in terms of what pickups you can replace these with, whereas it's generally pretty easy to replace straight pickups. But yeah, I would ask about this. They only have this angled juggernaut, but I know for a fact that bare knuckle can angle any of their pickup sets for the most part, other than stuff like the Blackhawk, I think. But other stuff can be angled, so I would ask them for the exact bare knuckle model that I want and have it angled. I'm sure they can accommodate that. Should be with no extra charge. Control pattern, volume and tone, too easy. Knobs, gold dome, but of course to taste. Cavity colors, stick to black, or you can have it match the body. So this is just like for the where the components sit. This is for the cavity where the components are, like the pickup wiring and all that sort of stuff. You can have it match the body if you want, but I've never had an issue with just black. And guitar case, absolutely. You want your guitar sent in a case. Don't risk it. Do not risk it. Chambered body, I would like a chambered body to make it a little bit lighter. Strap locks, don't need. Kill switch, don't need. Coil split, yes please. And notice those last few things increase the price, and we are sitting at $3,819. I'm not sure if that includes shipping, but pretty much $4,000. This is way more money than I would spend on this guitar, but this is pretty much the type of guitar that I would be looking to buy. So we're going to go take a look at Balaguer, which again has a better reputation currently than Halo Guitars does. The model I chose was the Balaguer Vega, which is one of their headless models. The one that I would probably go with. Dexterity left, of course. Construction method, same thing. They only have bolt-in, bolt-on, and set-in options, which both are totally fine with me. I'm gonna stick with bolt-on. 7-string. That adds $100. Multi-skill fan frets, yes please. Some parts change, cool. Case, hard shell, because that's what I want it shipped in. Contour, bevel top's the only option here. Construction, solid body or chambered. So like I said, I'm a fan of chambered bodies because they are lighter, but it's not 100% necessary to me. Let's go for it for now, see what we got. Chambered and semi-hollow bodies require a top wood. They already added one. Cool. Alright. Chambered. Wood options. Core wood. Alder's fine with me. Top. I think we said a burl maple on the last one. Let's do the same thing here. That's extra $65. Beautiful. Color. Alright, so these are the color options for Balaguer. So as I said, 9 out of 10 when you choose, pretty much whenever you choose a top, a nice top, you want it to be transparent or see-through. That's the same thing here. So see-through burst, meaning you can still see the pattern of the wood. That's gorgeous. But no, I'm a fan of their fade. So the coastal fade is a whole $300. Still really nice. Alright. Binding. It's not available and I don't need it anyway. Finish. I prefer a gloss finish for the top of the body. Satin everywhere else personally. Neck wood. Let's go one-piece mahogany, just like on the other one, I believe. I would probably honestly go for the scarf joint wingate here, actually. The darker the better on the woods for me, honestly. So let's go with that. And that's just a personal preference thing. Neck profile, thin D. Again, this is a personal preference thing. I find thinner necks to be more comfortable. Neck back color. Natural satin poly is fine with me. That's a beautiful wood back there. Fretboard wood. Again, I prefer darker woods here. Ebony works just fine. Number of frets, 24. Fretboard inlay. They do charge some for these. I don't need them. I will remove them. Side dots. Lumen lay, 100%. Need it. Fretboard binding, none. Pick guard, none. Pickups, passive, bridge, humbucker. They have Guitar Marie and Balaguer options, but I don't think their Guitar Marie options all pop up for some reason. So this is one of those cases where I would just stick with what they have and kind of see. I do some research on these and see which one sounds the coolest to me, and just go with that. Ultimately, if I needed to replace them, I would. And as you see, you can get them slanted, so that's perfect. Like we talked about earlier, having the pickup slanted towards the bridge helps maintain your pick attack, which is great, or enhance your pick attack. Pick guard, no. Pickups, no. Control pattern. Yep. Volume, tone, and a push pull for coil split or coil tap on the tone knob to let you get the single coil sounds. And yeah, this is a guitar that I would order pretty much today and be 100% satisfied with the specs that we chose. I think that this is gorgeous. And again, this Balaguer Guitars is a reputable company that has a good reputation. I would feel totally comfortable ordering this. Now let's compare that to the Halo that we just customized a moment ago. Whoa. Now this is a guitar with one pickup. We could, wait, let me see. Let me double check. Pickups. Passive. Neck position. We're at 3819 right now. Let's add this. Oh, and yes, absolutely. Adding another pickup. So, Halo Guitars is a company that does not have a great reputation, and yet a similarly spec'd out guitar costs $4,019. That's almost $1,500 more than this Balaguer, which does have a great reputation. So, why is that? As I think about it, I'm like, all right, well, Halo tends to be the first place that people end up when you look for a custom guitar creator online. Balaguer may be changing that, I'm not sure, but I just know, like, when you hop on Google and look for a guitar builder, Halo at least used to be the first thing that popped up. And also, in some respects, I think you can look at Halo as being, you have more custom options there than you do on certain guitars on their Balaguer. I wouldn't necessarily call Balaguer semi-custom, although technically that's what all of these are. A custom guitar, a full custom, you can choose like the shape and all that sort of stuff, like 100% to what your own specs, what you want. Like you basically design the daggone thing. We're all kind of in the range of semi-customs here. But that said, Halo does have a few more options than Balaguer does, generally speaking, unless you have a little bit more freedom. But none of that stuff to me at all justifies me wanting to pay the cost difference between these two. And that said, I think that the Balaguer looks a lot better. Yeah. So let me know down in the comment section what you think. Should I actually pick up one of these guitars? Would you be more interested in seeing the Balaguer or a Halo? Should we find out if Halo guitars have gotten any better? I'm not sure. Let me know what you think. But yeah, this has been my long guide on custom guitars, and this is just me giving you guys some of my insight on how I feel about custom guitars and some of my thoughts on it. If you have any questions about this stuff, please drop them down in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them. And like I said, sometime in February, my next custom guitar, my Black Hat 7-string, should be showing up. I'm looking forward to checking that out for you guys. But yeah, you guys take care.